Thank you so much for sharing your experience. So, first up is the microphone live again.
Cristina, you are an inspiration, just like Bill, to all of us, because it's just a fantastic story, and we have a lot to learn from you. I just wanted to ask you, so do you think that maybe we should form more societies, as I was, telling Bill about, patient counseling and, preparing them, and is it something that you think will work? And in your personal experience, would it have helped you if someone looked at you other than your family? I mean, in hospital?
No, I think it's needed. Yes. It's something that we need. But I have to say that most of the patients don't want to deal with it.
Okay.
They're not very, how do you say? They don't want to learn because they don't want to change their life. Most of them prefer to be treated as victims and don't want to be responsible for themselves. I listened before the Mister, and I thought for the first time about the choice he made instead of having FAV or catheters. And I thought, well, I never thought about that. He made a choice that was practical for him. And most of the patients don't even have the opportunity to understand what the difference means. It's the same with the intake of the fluid, the same to understand how a machine works for us. Before, they talked about disasters and what to do when we had emergency, but we don't know what to do when we have emergency. What will we do? We just clip 2 lines and that's it. And then you have 10 patients and 2 nurses. Oh, and sometimes the doctor is not even in the hall. So what do? And I think we should start teaching the patients how to treat themselves without having the fear of being judged by them. Okay, that cooperation, especially at this time when there are so many things we can do together, I think is really important.
So are you part of a patient group that could maybe do some advocacy?
I'm part of...
Also talk to doctors and tell them, listen, why don't you listen to us and hear us?
It's very difficult to talk to doctors, okay? Because they never have time and they always know more than you. But at the same time, it's difficult to have information. But I have to say, in my experience, I learned from each doctor I met. From homeopath to general to specialized doctors, I learned from everyone. And then I try to put the informations together. Sometimes I made mistakes, but that is because there was not a doctor to relate to work together. To make an experience or to improve a condition, okay? But I feel lucky because it's been more than 25 years and I'm still here, so it's okay.
Okay.
That's okay. I think it's good to have a conversation because both sides need to understand the other side problem. I also feel sorry for the doctors as well because although we say patient-centered care, but unfortunately in the public system that we have, what we tell our staff is system-centered care. You need to clear so many patients. And why do the doctors in Hong Kong, they go through the back door to get out of the ward because they couldn't have time to be stopped by the patient. There's a lot of difficulties. So I think this continued conversation, how we understand each other more. But I do see the role of kidney foundation to actually take up this role, improve the so-called health literacy of the patients. You may recall it 2-3 years ago in the World Kidney Day, we put that as a topic. Health literacy is not only a patient's side, but also the organization literacy, how we provide the information for you. Doctors do not have time to talk to one-to-one, but I think if you do good video clips and other things and put it on the website, as I mentioned earlier on, you can at least go through what may be hemodialysis and all those things, sharing of this information. I think we need to find new ways of doing how to actually share. Very
So doctors have to do some co-sharing and sorry, I mean, I'm not, pointing fingers, but as was said by Bill, that you need to co-work along with the patient. And yes, it is something very difficult. You cannot walk out of the back door as if, please, we'd like you to walk through the front and deal with, people like Bill and others who want to co-share and want to learn, and like Christina also. Thank you. I'm sorry, I don't mean to put you down, but I'm just saying that doctors could work along with patients more. Thank you.
I feel sorry for having
Yes,
system
I do.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you very much. I thought that was really, really beautiful and very moving the way you described, going through all these phases, which I'm a doctor. Don't want to defend doctors at all, but I think just knowing my colleagues, I think there's some who are extremely empathetic and willing to sit and take the time, others not. And I really believe that dialysis for me should also be a specialty. We have people who are focused on transplant, focused on glomerulonephritis. Some are very, very interested in dialysis, and for me, sometimes the biggest success in dialysis has been to write forms to get a person an apartment, and I felt that was a bigger success actually than, getting their hemoglobin or something. But I think I often tell patients that they are their best expert, and also that the other patients know often more than me. I know certain things, but I don't know everything, and obviously, walking in your shoes. So I feel exactly that. I think patients can support each other. They should have maybe dare to support each other. I'm not sure, often there's just so much throughput in the dialysis. Everything has to happen quickly and you have to be taken off the machine. But maybe as patients, one should get together and really try to make a space. I realize that there's so much time that dialysis takes away, that to find other time, but maybe as you say, this is some time that might actually be regenerating. That could be helpful. I don't know how to organize it practically, but I feel there's a hunger in a lot of patients, especially the new ones, that they realize there's a very bumpy road, but, it goes somewhere, this road. So I don't know, I can't say, but I can definitely, I just feel, and also Bill, just the way that you analyze things and just break them down into their components is your kind of, your magic skill, I think. But I think that's part of what's made you so strong in this area, that you for yourself as well. Thank you.
So thank you, but I have to tell you that Shanti, who's now daring to go into the dialysis units and talk about her experience, patients are so happy that she's coming to talk to them about her experience and listening to what she has to say, that you're not alone.
But this is what the difficulty that we are meeting, that the other patients are not so willing.
Right.
Most of them are not so willing. They prefer just to get under the earth, put their head under the earth, and without seeing exactly what it means to be a chronic patient. That is not the end of the world. It's just a different way of living, and you can learn how to live in a different way.
So we have found that our patients are actually listening now. And we thought they were not interested. Now she takes a mic and talks to 20
everybody.
patients or 10 patients in one room. And they are actually listening, and the feedback seems to be positive for most of them. So maybe we should try.
Maybe we should try more.
Okay, we have a lot of comments.
Just a short comment.
Yes.
Maybe nurse educators can also help in these programs.
Yes, they could.
Yeah. No, before
Just on patients, sort of care for patients, Patient is one word, but really it's a diverse population. Presents all situations, right? All stages. When I was working, right, I do not really announce to the whole world that I have a kidney disease. So I'm not really in a position to visit patients and being vocal about my diseases. Now I'm retired, I'm a full-time volunteer, I can share all the stories I have. Another thing is, be careful about the patient's information, right? That's just their perspective, their experience. May work for them, may not work for another patient. So that disclaimer, that sort of, caution is always, should be presented up front. Say, look, I'm not a medical doctor, but this is what I experienced. May apply to you, may not. But if may not, if does not apply to you, I probably can find a friend who is more like your situation. We can talk about it. I think patients love to, I think as a person, as a human being, communication is an enjoyable thing. I mean, but the ways of communication is different, right? I mean, some people just quietly sit down and look at each other's eyes. They're happy. They're happy to get the message through. Other people, they have to through the verbal languages. So everybody is different. There's no sort of one shoes fits all kind of situation, but we just need to be mindful of diversity.
Just
Just a short comment. It's quite different people from dialysis from people who are transplanted, at least in the public life, in a TV actor, movie, TV workers, art performing. They don't want to let know that they are on dialysis because they can steal some projects, some programs. The opposite is when they have been grafted. They can make publicity about themselves and tell, I struggle, I won my battle, and so on. But when they are on dialysis, in certain field, the obscurity comes.
Thank you very much for a very inspiring this lifestyle. I mean, so what I'm saying is that it's very crucial that a patient should be a cornerstone in educating other patients and raising awareness. Patients tend to listen to patients and be convinced from patients than from the doctors, because they feel the way you went through, they feel it, and you feel how they feel. It's not like the doctors, they know and more than they feel. So they are more willing to listen to patients and they have a very important role in raising awareness in transplantation, especially. And in dialysis, look at your story, for instance. You can, if you say that to other patients starting dialysis, thinking that this is the end of the world, then they can know, no, it could be better. You can still have hope. But when we doctors tell them that, they don't believe it that much. So it's very important. So yes, we have to work together. Very important. Thank you.
okay, we have a question. Okay. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And for you too. My question is for both of you, how much time do you spend in the management of your illness? For example, if you want some medications, or if you have to talk with let's say in Spanish, the obra social, the people who pay your treatment. No? We have a lot of officers that we have to talk with them, and not only the institution, not only the medical doctors, but nowadays every patient have to go this foundation for this medication, this. So
Well,
the question is, how much
care,
time do you spend in really
taking care of my health is like a job, a second job. I had to learn everything from scratch. And it's been very difficult, and it's still difficult because I don't know everything. Okay, I'm still learning. But I think it's a responsibility for a patient to have a mature approach with his proper disease, because it can be a good example for others, and you can live happier, even with less, even with limits, you can live better. And you have to give it time. You have to give it time. Yes. You have to read, you have to search, you have to understand. Sometimes you have to talk to the doctor to be able to understand what you're singing, what you're studying, or what you're reading, if it's good for you or not good for you, up to what level. But I think it's worthy. For my life, or for my experience, I can say it is worthy. And I'm really surprised when I've got somebody in front of me that doesn't want to do it at all. Because this is what sometimes happens. There are patients, they just don't want to know anything about it. They just want to be victims of themselves. And they want to have the right to be a victim, which is not really good for the word dignity that has been used a lot. And the families, especially for their families, they should do it. Because, I still got my parents, I've got a daughter, and I still have to take care of them, even if I'm ill.
Okay.
Doctor myself, and really both talks, so they are always very humbling for oneself to realize what one can learn from these talks and how small this part plays really in the daily clinical routine of taking care. And for me, sometimes I think of when we kind of as doctors show our humbleness, show that we don't know all, that we have questions as well, that we're sometimes unsure, and without delegating all the decisions to the patients, so that builds a lot of trust. And I think it's a process to learn the language, basically. For me, like going to the bank, I don't understand what they're telling me, and there is some stuff which I have to believe. But I think what I thought with medicine also, what we probably underappreciate is really the velocity of the modern medicine that has perhaps been so quick without taking our brains with us. I think it's so difficult to explain some things to people who are questioning and critical perhaps, like vaccination, and you try to explain it to someone who's questioning vaccination. Or immunosuppression and cancer and transplantation have made so many major streams that often there is a big gap between the patient, what he understands, she understands, and then they look for another niche, and that can become a problem. Like, I'm totally frustrated when someone goes to alternative medicine, and I think, why does this person not take the immunosuppression instead of yeah, it has to, but I think it shows me a little bit, despite all trying to understand and to speak, how much sometimes really this discrepancy is. How we need, of course, this education as doctors as well to learn that. But this group of patients you don't reach, and they kind of don't reach us, they feel frustrated by the system, by this modern medicine, they go back to something which hurts them, in my eyes, and you can't reach them.
In my personal experience, I found an improvement in starting a vegetarian diet, especially when I came back to dialysis. This is how I got my intestine to work properly. And but I had to admit that vegetarian diet had a limit for me because there were not enough proteins. So I had to rethink it by myself in a different way, but without losing what I had reached already. So I think we need to communicate more, even with the alternative therapies that are not the maximum, but can help. And we have to take the best they can give us. And this is how the patient works, because it's there, and I'm trying to make a relation in between one another, because there's nobody at the moment that can do this for me. So I have to do it by myself.
Okay, I think as a kidney foundation, we may learn a lot of this story, and also as a doctor. So thank you so much.
Thank you to you all.